point, actually. Bring others interested, bring others in, keep them interested, give them a reason to want to be a part of this. You know, to say that you have to decide between one and the other isn't necessarily a fair mindset, in my opinion. Not to say it's a bad one, it's an honest one, and I can understand it completely. In the end, I'm here to include everyone. If the key word is unity, then that includes those who are online as well. And figure out ways to get their input and see what they want as differences as well.
I think that first you have to get the satellite campuses involved. I feel like there's such a disconnect in them. I sent our flyers out to the satellite campuses just so they're aware that an SGA election is even going on. But like you were saying, I mean, it is very interesting to think. I think we think of them as separate entities, and we think of this as being the hub, and we really don't know who exists at the other satellite campuses. But there is no exclusion to who gets what. But I think that the people here at this campus see this state of the campus at this state every day, and it's a different perspective that they have than the Knoxville and Kingsport people. I mean, you all walk on the Oval every day. You all go and attend classes in the buildings. So I think that you all have a different perspective, and I want to, while I'm here on this campus and attend this campus, I would love to put more money into this campus, and so that the masses here would benefit.
I came to King because I thought I found a second home. I've talked to a lot of kids on campus that live on campus, and they said that's why one of the reasons they came to King at first was because they found it as a second home. I haven't had a chance to talk to the other campuses or anything, but I'm pretty sure they'd say the same thing. My question to you is this: how are you going to keep campus feeling like home?
I think that's pretty much why we're all here. We're still here. It's because we love that feeling of closeness and that personal connection that we all had with students and with faculty alike. You know, we made those personal connections, and they made us feel like we were supposed to be here. And I hope that people are taking advantage of that. I don't know if students really are taking advantage of that to begin with. If a lot of students are just trying to get this college experience done and just move on. But I want them to be aware that that's what this is all about. This is all about, like, making connections with your faculty, with, you know, interacting with each other, making friends. And as far as the other campuses go, I hope that they are experiencing that as well, and I welcome them to this campus as well, so that we, you know, I love the word unity. I think that that's absolutely perfect for how we should be describing what's going on here.
That's actually one of the things I want to hear about when I say that I want to listen to the students. I don't want to just hear, because I know we seem to be on the mindset of we want to talk about making a difference. Yes, we do. But at the same time, there are those elements, because you know, I feel like this is a second home to me too. You know that, you know. So for me, it's also hearing, what is it that you love about this place that you wouldn't change? Because there's a lot here that we say, well, what can we improve on? What can we improve on? What can we repair? What do we not want to change here? There's a lot about the music department that I'm in that, yeah, I wish it would grow. I wish we had our own music hall with a glorious auditorium with a giant hanging chandelier. But then I woke up. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But there's some elements about the professors around me, about the air and the honesty of this place, even if it's sometimes smothered, that I wouldn't change a bit, because that's what brings me here. That's part of what makes King what it is. So for me, it's saying not only what do you want to change, but what do you want to hold on to as well? What is it that makes this your experience, so that we can take that experience and hold on to it for the next person who comes along.
Now, kind of to add on what you guys are talking about here, I guess really the only people that would know about this are the older ones in the room. But my time being a fifth-year senior, I've gotten to experience 5 years here, and I can honestly say that the environment of the college is definitely, or the university is definitely very different than what it was my freshman year. And by that I don't mean with the change that's happened this year, but in the sense of the students here that are present now definitely have a different outlook on the community that they want to see than the students that were here when I first came to King. And that's definitely developed and changed. Do you feel that we should keep the traditions of King what they are, even as the student perception of what they want changes? Or do you feel that some of those traditions may need to change or develop into something new or different?
There's a lot about this place that drew me to it because of the traditions. As much as the chapel credits and convocation credits really annoy me because I prefer to sleep in if I have the opportunity, there's still a lot I can learn from those. Tedious so they can be, and yeah, I wish there was a way where they weren't necessarily required, but recommended. There's a lot about this school that I love. The fact that it's a Christian-based campus, the fact that, it's a liberal arts campus. There's a lot of that I would hold on to. Stuff like the bagpiper and the oval. When you walk around it the first day of orientation and when you walk around it again come graduation day. There's a lot of those things I wouldn't change no matter how much you offered me. There's a lot like the chapel credits where I would say, why is it necessarily this way? Because for me, religion is about choice. I don't serve God because I was told to. I serve God because I choose to. We should offer that kind of choice to others. For me, yeah, there are some things I'd change. But in the end, a lot of what brings me to King in the first place is the tradition itself. And I feel like for a lot of us, that's part of what makes it, going back to what Mr. Leach was saying, a second home.
I agree. I think that we all were attracted to King for that rich tradition. But I think that every president is going to be asking themselves this from here on out. Like, what would we keep here and what would we change? And I would love to restore some tradition. I would love to have, I've heard from countless alumni that, I had the time of my life. It was not like this. And I look back at my freshman and sophomore year and they weren't at all like that, and I don't want that to happen for, my brother's a freshman. I don't want him to have that experience. I want him to love this and it be rich and him to look back and say, those were the times of my life. But so restoring that tradition, but moving forward with the times at the same time.
What specifically do you have planned? Community development obviously is a big topic. I want to hear some specifics as far as maybe activities or what traditions you plan on restoring in your presidency.
Traditions concerning like the college or just activities like community-wise or what do you mean?
The college has a really rich history of activities and clubs and organizations and things that have been lost in the past. And those are kind of something interesting to look at. But I'm just sort of looking at, like, activities-wise, how do you see yourself developing the community specifically, beyond just communication?
So I'm really excited to bolster up clubs that are on campus. Like you were saying, they're kind of dying off. It's being monopolized by a couple of clubs, and either people don't know how to start a club, or they're not funded, or they need help getting it together. And that's something that I really want to encourage, is that if you have an idea for a club and you want to start it, that you have full capability to, and that you're well supported and well funded and you know how to run it. And then we're going to be with you every step of the way, not just send you a form and a check and then you're off to your own. Making sure that, like Mace, I'm sure we were talking about how sporting events, that's a huge thing, getting a draw to a crowd for a sporting event. Why can't we have a draw to a crowd for theater or for music choir events? Yeah. just getting people drawn to more activities on campus. You know, not just a basketball game for Conference Carolinas. Not that that's not awesome, but we want to spread the wealth with the other sports as well. Maybe with the soccer games or track meets, going to track meets. Something to get kids more excited being on campus.
I remember freshman year, even though I had plenty of friends, I was actually very lonely. I mean, being a commuter, you're not on campus all the time, and I tried to find many groups that I could try and fit into, and never really found one. It's kind of funny you bring up the clubs and all, because I've gone to Dr. Littleton, I can't even count on one hand how many times. It's so many, for ideas for, let's do a club that's dedicated to studying film. Let's do one that's dedicated to studying languages, things like that. And the problem is, you can't get people very interested in these things for some reason. It goes back to the apathy. It's not that they don't want to, it's just that they don't care. So for me, what I want to see is give people a reason to want to join these things. Try and find better support. Bring in the people who have the successful clubs. And even try and put some of our support in there and say, okay, here's what we've got. Now what can we do to make it grow and flourish? Because it's one thing to get it started, it's another thing to keep it alive. I was going to join Kappa Sigma when it was being started here on campus. And it died off before I could become a founder. It made me so mad. And the reason why is because people weren't interested in it. My sister was a sorority member with Alpha Zeta Delta. She was a sister to Kappa Sigma. So I understand what that fraternity stood for, and I was excited. Get more people interested. Find the right people. Get out there. Again, meeting them on their level, talking to them about it. Speak long enough, speak loud enough, and people will listen. And that's really what I want to accomplish there.
Okay. We have a submitted question from the person, Whitney. She was the president 2 years before? 2 years before Benson. So she was from a while ago. She was going to be here today, but unfortunately she couldn't make it. She had two questions. The first is, in light of the recent exposure of the tactics employed by former leaders of King's administration, I feel we've been reminded that ethical leadership is extremely important. As SGA president, you will face many more dilemmas than the average student and undergo far more scrutiny. Do you feel that, if elected, you and your chosen administration will be able to successfully navigate the complex decisions you undoubtedly face as objectively as possible and act in a manner that will always benefit the student body?
Without a doubt, yes. I don't have any tricks up my sleeve. I don't have any ulterior motives. My method may not have the best alliteration, but again, I'm one that is very honest, to the point, and I'm willing to meet people on their level. I'm not here to cause wars. I'm not here to do anything wrong. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I'm aware of that. With the position we've been in, it's not exactly an easy task to want to take up, let alone to succeed in. But as I've looked at my setup and what I stand for, and as I look at my vice president, what he has in mind, I consider him one of my best friends. I chose him for many reasons, and they weren't all political. They were honest. If you had asked me this question 2 years ago, saying, do you think you can do this? I'd probably say no. But right now, I can honestly look at you and others in this room and say, you know what? I am ready to lead, and I feel like I can do a good job in helping this school make a difference.
I definitely think that Bo and I, as well as people who are going to rise up in the Senate, are ready to take lead at this school. We're ready to lead you all to this next step. I want to surround myself with wise counsel, because I can't do this alone. And I think that was the first thing I said whenever I was told, like, you should run for president. I said, I cannot do this alone. And I want to harp on that. Like, it's not about, I'm not running for president for me or for a resume or to make myself look cool or to have an office. I'm doing this for you all. I know that I can handle this. I've been in leadership positions before. I know that I'm a fighter for you all, And I know that I can handle myself professionally in the situations I'm going to have to be put in with administration and faculty and board of trustees. And I know that I can rally for you all and get your voices heard. And I think that that's what you all need, is somebody that's going to get your voices and your opinions heard and out there.
There's also a follow-up question here. But I had my own follow-up question. It was actually a question I was about to ask you both, and then we'll come back to Whitney's follow-up, if that's okay. This was the question that was posed to me, and I will never forget. I was standing here, and question came from back there. Alum Pua Kaufman, she played soccer here. Phenomenal leader on campus. And just the things that she did and she stood for. And she asked a very pointed question to all of us, and it's the same one I'm going to ask you now, because of all the questions I got that day, it was the one I was least prepared for, but the one I was most willing to answer. And the question is, how are you now prepared to lead as a student leader on a Christian campus? How do you develop your faith and lead a life of faith, and how will you implement that into the way that you lead as president?
I think that reminds me of like one of the questions that was asked at the first debate about restoring us to a Presbyterian.
Yeah.
It kind of didn't trip us up, and it shouldn't have tripped us up, but it was unexpected. But I want to be a good Christian leader. I do. And I want people to hold me accountable to things. And I want to hold myself accountable and to be in constant prayer as I'm making decisions, as I'm meeting with people. And I want to make sure that anything I do is not out of self-gain, that it's with you all in mind. I think that that's huge when it comes to leadership, is that you have a good Christian role model. And I don't personally, I would love